Call the September meeting of the Westonka School Board to order. Will everybody please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Chair moves for approval of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements. September 13th, the League of Women's Voters School Board Candidate Forum is at 7 o'clock in the Performing Arts Center. I suggest everybody try to make it there if you can. September 20th, facilities meeting right here at 7 a.m. October 2nd, Finance Committee meeting, 7:30 a.m. We're going to do that by Zoom. And October 2nd, Policy Committee meeting, 5:15 in Conference Room A, and then the regular school board meeting at 6 p.m. Superintendent Kevin Borg will share updates from the first week of classes and to share the success.
Thank you, and board and community, it's been a really positive start of the school year, this 23-24 school year. I think of some of the information that we were able to share, and you look at some great news of student achievement with test results. You look at great news of having your building staffed and just really having a great staff. Really excited about the people that we've hired this year. Met with our bus company and we're running all of our routes, and today, in this age, that's a big deal, and that there are people that know our families and they've been here a long time, and we're thankful for that. We're thankful that we started our classrooms all with air conditioning, and you think about those 90-degree days, and it was 2011, we did a bond, and we talked about how important air in the classrooms were in that past, and people in this room were part of those discussions and how that plays forward. And so you start thinking about these different data points, but what it really comes to is the smiles and the excitement of the kids. So we have about a 3-minute video here of some of the faces that started off our school year, and then I'll share a few more things.
I could dance,
You know, we get into a boardroom and we talk about a lot of policies, a lot about direction, a lot about vision, but it's all there. It's welcoming these kids back into our classroom. It's their smiles and excitement. It's the love that you can see staff just giving these kids. And it's also a focus on improvement. And this is a year that we look forward to taking the next steps. So we're excited about our goals that we have ahead of us. We're really excited about the team that we have. We're thankful for this board and this community that we can start off school in a place like when you drove here today and you saw all the activity coming up Sunnyfield. That's what schools should be. It should be that safe, welcoming place where kids are engaged and involved and having fun. It's those smiles that really, that's what pushes all of us. And so really above any stat or statistic, just want to say thank you to this board, thank you to this community for your support of our schools, that we can start school that way at Westonka. Really excited about the 23-24 school year.
Thanks, Kevin. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak tonight? Nope. Okay. We'll move on then to the treasurer's report. Ralph?
We're gonna skip the treasurer's report today and do it in October because the list of the contributors is not quite available yet.
Okay. Thank you. Look forward to it then in October. Student rep report?
Yes, I am covering. I share a birthday with Natalie, and I said, Natalie, only one of us should have the real privilege of this, so I'm gonna get my elbows pointing. You have to stay home, I'm gonna be here. So with that, Natalie typed up a great report, and I'll try to deliver it half as well. Big things that are coming up is we have homecoming before you know it, so it's September 24th to September 30th. We have coordination already on Sunday the 24th, and that's in the Performing Arts Center at 1 p.m., and that's free entrance. And then on Friday the 29th is the parade from Hilltop to Hadorf, that's at 5 p.m. The tailgate is at right after that and before the 7 p.m. game. And then that Friday, the 29th, we're taking on the Orono Spartans. And so if you want to talk about a full capacity crowd, you're going to want to come early or park far away, however you choose, but we will definitely test the limits of Hadorf Field that night. Also then later on, we'll have our bonfire there. There's a lot of tradition that goes into our homecoming, and part of it is our alumni breakfast that Friday as well. So we will host another annual alumni breakfast on Friday the 29th at 7:30. It's great to bring in alumni, and then we also recognize our Hall of Fame entrance for our alumni. So we will put them in our Athletic Hall of Fame, and we have, I believe, 4 or 5 new people that we'll be recognizing. Student Senate is busy with Spirit Day and Pep Fests and a semi-formal, so they're all working on those items. And then she did the kindness for me and just saying there's many sporting events, but I would tell you that the football team varsity, they're up, they're 2-0 right now. We have a boys soccer team seeing a lot of success. We have a tennis team that's seen a lot of success. But volleyball, they just beat Watertown, and it's been a while since we beat Watertown, and they're really excited about the start of their year too. So a lot of these teams are seeing some great starts and excited about all of that.
Thanks, Kevin. We'll move on to the financial report. Kathy?
Good evening, everyone. I can't start without saying happy birthday to Kevin, our fearless leader. Tonight I'm going to, I have the pleasure of sharing the enrollment, the first day in school. When I watch the video, I think of smiles, and those are also our head counts, but so we can call them smiles. Anyway, the first, this chart shows a comparison of last school year, what we were budgeting, as well as what we saw the first day. And again, keep in mind the information for the first day is tentative. Last year we finished with 2,412 students. And if you remember, we graduated one of our largest classes. So when Kevin and I put the budget together, we knew that we had that class graduating, and we planned for that. We've known that for years. And we had planned on 170 kindergartners. So you can see we expected a drop, and again, intentionally planned for that. The first day of school, as of right now, we're going to be serving 12 additional, or 11 students over last year, but it's 40 students greater than our budgeted number, which is exciting. But we also know that there's a little bit of softness to those numbers. Some families that may have moved maybe haven't communicated very well to us. So we keep a lot of kids on our books for 15 days, and then there'll be a lot of communication over the next few weeks. And so we always expect for that number to bounce down. But it's nice to have that positive number before that communication happens. There's specific reporting that we do to the Minnesota Department of Education on October 1st. And October 1st is really a great date to give a solid number. So when I come back at the October meeting, the number may look different, but I thought you might appreciate at least having a glimpse of where we are at this first week of school plus. Financial information, revenue and expenditures through the end of August. July and August are pretty quiet, so you can see the numbers are quiet. We haven't, our teachers aren't on staff, so we collected $325,000, or about 1% of our revenue, and we expended $3.8 million, or just a little over 10% of our budget. Again, you'll see a lot bigger numbers in September when the kids are back, the staff is back. There'll be a lot of expenses for supplies, and we'll be well underway. But as of right now, the year is off to a good start. Later on your agenda, you'll see there's an action item to approve the proposed levy. And I'm recommending that you approve the proposed levy at maximum rather than a specific dollar amount. There's edits that the state needs to make, and if there's other approved alignments, it gives the opportunity to do that without having to come back and vote as a board. And so we need to have this approved by the September 30th, but again, if we approve it at maximum, it gives us the authority to make those corrections that the state gives to us. And then at the end of September, we'll give those dollar figures to Hennepin County, and from there, then they'll take the information and then get those on the proposed tax statements that you'll see in October.
And Kathy, we expect to get that information from the state, but still we're waiting for information. Every year you do approve this at maximum, so this is a normal action that this board takes, and then at the December meeting you'll approve it to a specific dollar point. But right now we're waiting for the state to factor in things like the second step of the levy that the community passed in 2019, and so we need some of those figures in this. We also need just our regular some of the areas that have gone up or gone down, and so we have to account for that. But
Yes.
well, once we get that information, we can bring that to the board.
Yep, thank you, yes, and Kevin's right, historically, we have, since my time here, we've always approved at maximum, so it is an efficient way for us to do business. And keep in mind that we will have solid numbers at our Truth and Taxation hearing, which will be at our first December, or our first week of December board meeting at 6 p.m. A couple other items I'm going to just touch on. We had a successful audit in August and still working on the final details, and the auditors are drafting reports for next month's board meeting. Again, we have received a clean report, and they'll share more details at that time. We do have a finance committee meeting the morning of our regular board meeting, and Aaron Dahl of Creative Planning, which is formerly Bergen KDV, he'll be going through that with our board finance committee in great detail. And then at that time, we also hope that the state will give us more information that we'll be able to share with our finance committee. We usually go through that information line by line once we get the information from the state. Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Now we'll go on to the teaching and learning report. Mark?
All right, it's
good to see everybody, and I just want to echo Kevin's words too. It really has been just a positive start. And when I've been in the buildings, you can just feel that energy. And I was just telling staff, you know, we really went through a lot during the pandemic. We all had a different role in that, and more of that is in the rearview mirror. And again, it just feels like a normal start. And we had just great energy in our Welcome Back program, and we're off. We're off. So I hope tonight I can provide you some continued good news on a number of things, and just get this going here. Tonight at this time is usually when I'm here again, that I have standardized test scores to share with you tonight, and we should keep in mind that standardized test scores is really our accountability to our community. It's not the end-all be-all to everything, but it definitely is a way that we are measured. And I just will bring in 3 different reports tonight. The first one is the Reading Well by Grade 3 State Report. That is a requirement from the Department of Ed that we are ensuring that all of our students by the end of third grade are reading at grade level. And we measure sight word acquisition, oral reading fluency, comprehension, and guided reading levels. And those results, at kindergarten, we're measuring sight words. And just to give you the high level summary at the top, we had almost 80% proficiency. And here's the message with this. I mean, those bar graphs are hard, but here's what I want you to zero in on. That green bar, that's 2021. That's the middle of the pandemic. And if anything, the trajectory is going up and up, back to where it was before the pandemic. There's always room to grow, but 2021 was really the low point. So we are hitting about 80% proficiency with kindergarten sight words, and we'll expect it to continue to go up. So that's the first measurement. Then we have something called oral reading fluency. So think about a student reading one-on-one with a teacher, and they're tracking how fluent they're reading, how many mistakes or when they're pronouncing the words, how many are correct, how many are not. And in this case, in grade 1, there was 70 proficiency, grade 2 was almost 80%, grade 3, 73.5%. The same message is getting better and better each year. If you take 2021 as the low point during the pandemic, we're making nice progress. And as I've talked many times, we have a new language arts program that we're really excited about, and you'll hear more and more about the READ Act. That's one of the mandates from the Department of Ed. I'll be coming to you this year talking about that and the things that we have working with that. But the literacy program we've adopted is going to fit very nicely with those requirements. Another measurement is comprehension. And here we expect us to be around the 90% mark on proficiency. So grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, if you look at the top in bold up there, we're hitting that mark. And again, it's each year now after the pandemic, we're getting back the way things were before the pandemic. And the last measurement is guided reading level. And that's a measurement for, especially as a parent, that we will share with a family, your child in the fall is reading at level C. We want them to grow to a level E by the end of the year. So that's what the guided reading level is. And again, really strong results from 2021. And you can see kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, all in the 80-90%. But you'll notice that grade 3 is at 68.8. And that's not in the level that we would want. And you know, I wanted to give you some context on that. Is that when we adopted the new literacy program, there was concern in grade 3 that there was so much to teach. And they really wanted to try the phonics program, and only the phonics program in our literacy program. And so that's what they did. But they soon discovered, based on these results, that what we were doing before was something we used, it's called Sunday Essentials. So Sunday is a phonics program. It's based on Orton Gillingham. We use that in grades K, 1, and 2, and we were using it in 3 and 4. But grade 3 in particular really felt nervous that they couldn't fit it all in. So we decided, let's just teach the program, make sure that you do that with fidelity, and then we'll see where we're at. Well, we were disappointed with that result. So Orton Gillingham Sunday Essentials program is now back in this year in both 3rd and 4th grade, because we saw that dip. And so I predict we're gonna be right back up with the other grade levels next year, and the kids are gonna catch up. But we had to try something to see if it's gonna work or not. And I give credit to our grade 3 staff to realizing, looking at their data, yeah, we gotta change something, and they're all on board. So that's just a little bit of context on that. Overall, the Reading Well by grade 3 results, very pleased with them. And there's always room for growth, but we're coming out of the pandemic, we're getting back to normal, and that's what we want. Okay, going on to the next measurement. So advanced placement. Now we're gonna fast forward to the high school. So with advanced placement, this last year, 2023, over on the right-hand side, we administered 311 exams, 196 students took those exams. And you can see the trend in there, and we're back about where we were with that. 2021 is always interesting why there was so many. That was that pandemic year. Can't tell you exactly why that is, but that's the way it turned out. But we were in that normal range where we were before the pandemic. What's encouraging with this slide is that in our 5-year trend, we had almost 70% of our students that took an AP exam earn a 3 or higher. 3 is typically considered proficiency on an AP exam. And again, we love seeing that, and we know we can do even better. But again, the track is going up, and that's what we want. Again, 2021 is the low point, and we're just moving ahead as we go. The other measurement that we have is, through the College Board, is a measurement called AP Scholars. And we had 41 AP Scholars this year. And when you think about that, the top group, the 29 students at the high school, were considered AP Scholars because they took 3 or more AP courses. They measure the graduating class. They look back the 4 years. So we had 29 students that took 3 or more AP courses during their time here at the high school. The average score of that group was a 3.11. Then we had 6 students that earned the recognition of AP Scholar with honors. Those students took 4 or more AP courses. So typically your first AP course is in 10th grade. So now you're taking at least 2 or more. Their average score was a 3.675. Then we had another 6 students that have the honor of earning the AP Scholar with distinction. They took 5 or more AP courses, and their average is a 4.28. Those are kids that are ready for college, they're ready for rigor. And what I would tell anyone, that just by signing up for an AP course, whether you get a 3 or higher or not, you're getting exposed to a level of rigor that you're going to experience if you go to a 4-year college. And that in itself is a great experience to have. Again, we're pleased with these results. Just some highlights, some call-outs. AP Biology, Literature, World History, Statistics, all had exceptional passing rates this year. And then the other thing that I want to mention is that, again, we celebrate this, but we also take time to reflect and look at what are the next steps. So Principal Herfel and I met with our AP teachers during August workshop week. We went over the results. We asked them, look at your individual course results, identify your strengths, identify your weaknesses, and then we also talked about professional development. There's the whole AP professional development realm, and we're really encouraging and expecting them now this year to either network with other AP teachers in your course or sign up, participate in some of the workshops that they'll offer this fall. So again, the track is going up with these things. The last piece I want to share with you, and you have the handout in front of you, you've heard this. Absolutely pleased with our state testing results. And that does not come without effort of our students, our families, our staff to make that happen. And we measure ourselves against other public school districts that have 100 students or more in their grade level. And it absolutely takes my breath away when I see those kind of results, because that is hard work. That's a reflection of the student-centered instruction that we provide our students in every single classroom. That is effort from not only starting in grade 3, but it starts in preschool. And if we know this, if you are in our system from preschool on up, you're going to be very successful here. And again, it was great to celebrate with our staff these results. And at the same breath, we're also humble because we know we can do better. And so we celebrate, but we also look at what's the next step. What's the next thing that we can look at? What's the next thing that we can do different for this coming year? But it's always wonderful to see that. And as I said, these are results that are our external accountability measures for our community to assure our families that when you send your kids to Westonka, you're going to get a great education.
Mark, I have to point out there's one error in the headline
Oh,
there.
yes.
Westonka's top 10 in math, reading, and science. We're actually top 5 in math, reading, and science.
Thank you. Thank you. I will make that correction. Duly noted. Thank you. All right. And you have that handout here. I just want to wrap up. This is a really good, just a good feel story about what our kids can do. This August, we offered a middle school robotics camp at the high school. And it was not run by staff. I get this email from a student, you maybe know who he is, Rohan Nelly. He says, Mr. Femeray, me and a few talk about friends, we want to run a robotics camp for middle school kids. And immediately I thought, oh my, you don't really understand middle school and what it takes to organize and detail things out for 4 days for 6 hours to keep it constructive and busy with middle school kids. So we did a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion. I don't think you had any idea all the operational things that you need to put together to make it happen, but they made it happen. And so August 14th to the 17th, Rohan and then these other talk about students, they offered a middle school camp to 18 Grandview students. And they learned how to build, on the left side there, these little mini robots. They learned about coding, and they learned about 3D printing. And then the last day, they built this obstacle course for the kids. And again, it was one of these things where it was just fun to see high school students just exuding this leadership. And there's maybe a part of me that was a little nervous that they're going to be running this thing. But when I was over there, you could see they had these middle school kids in the palm of their hands. And what great leadership opportunities for them. And the middle school kids, just so proud of themselves that they built these little robots and they coded them. And they use a 3D printer. And it's just a feeding ground for not just participating in our Tonkabots Robotics League, but it probably exposed these kids to considerations of what do I want to be after high school? What do I want to go into? So it was fun, from a simple email in June to all this work that these kids did to pull this off in August, and it was greatly successful, and they'll probably do it again next year. So.
I can't help but to look at that, and you think about, in a future bond, building a machining shop, of how you move it again from a hallway to a dedicated space that's here to support such things. I mean, that is really that's an example of what's on the ballot.
Yeah. So,
You know, and I wanted to thank you for all the hard work you and your group have put in on this behalf of the school board here. I mean, coming out of COVID was a long, hard road, and these test results and everything are fantastic. And I agree with you. There's always room for improvement, but we're on the right track.
We're on the right
to
track.
get there. So,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The initiative that these students have taken, I feel like it would be great to hear from them at a board meeting sometime if they wanted
Yes.
to discuss how this all came
Yeah,
about together.
I'm sure they would love to do that. I'll work on that with Kelly.
Good.
We could do that. That'd be
Bring
fun.
a few bots around.
That's right. All right, thank you.
Well, now we'll move on to the superintendent report. Kevin?
So, in addition to what Kathy shared, and one thing just to highlight again, one update that Kathy gave was enrollment. Enrollment right now is exceeding what our expectation for our budget was. We expect that to be true. We'll see where that comes in next month, but that's another sign of growth, and that's a positive direction. Mark and the team, just the intentional work and the focus, but I love the spirit. You know, it's a quick congratulations and let's make sure we acknowledge a lot of efforts, but how can we take that next step? And that's a fun environment to work in when people are focused that way, and just love being part of a team that way. The one thing I wanted to update, other than what's on your action items, is that we got a positive review and comment from the state. And so when you present a bond to the community, you have to present that to the Department of Ed, and they review your project. One thing that I was particularly proud of the school board and those that participated was the steps that we took in establishing these questions. And so we took 2 years, and the first year was really studying 7 different areas that we got feedback on what are our community's needs, and we studied those. And then we went into a demographic study to make sure that before we talk about anything, do we have space for our kids in our schools? And then we tested it with our community just to make sure what we're talking about is in alignment. And so we got a first round of community survey results. We then engaged with staff in our focus groups, and we got their DNA, their fingerprints of really diving into these different topics. Then further moving it forward to the facilities committee to get input, and we ran parent and community input sessions to follow it up with the community, and then again, board meetings to discuss this. And so when we present this to the Department of Ed, there was a lot of confidence that we took a lot of steps of getting feedback and the community's direction of what do you want to see in your schools. And so we provided them those demographic studies, those surveys, and the detail that was developed in creating this. And so what the Department of Ed wants to make sure is that, one, that your project adds up. And so they look through how have you put this together. On our team is Wold, who's been with us since 2012. They worked on the 2011 bond and the 16 bond. And so they're very familiar with our facilities, and they are working. When you do a remodel, you don't always know what you're getting into when you go behind the walls, and they've been behind our walls. And so that allows us to have a better gauge. Wold and KA do more dollars in K-12 construction than any other firms in the state. And so when we talk about estimating, they're very familiar with how to do this. So they're familiar overall and familiar with our buildings. And so we had confidence in what we're presenting to the state about this. We presented it in construction costs and project costs, meaning that part of that is things like FF&E, furniture, fixtures, equipment. Part of it is testing budgets and what you have to provide for soft costs. And so the state looks through that information. And through all this, they concluded that we did account for the costs of adding space, what that means for utility, what that means for staffing. And they also commented that this is going to add to the long-term value of these properties. And when you're adding on to older buildings, that's important, because we have a 70-year-old building, we have a 50-year-old building. And so they want to make sure that in construction, what you're proposing makes sense. And so with that, I'm pleased to share with you that we got a positive review and comment. I'm not surprised with that, but also it's just another affirmation of the work putting this together. And so we're now at the stage of continuing to communicate this with our community. We have early voting, not starting this Friday, but next Friday, and then the vote is November 7th. And so we look forward for the community to vote on these questions and then set what the direction is as we move forward. And so the review and comment and our application is on our website. It was a copy of the state response was in the paper, and it's in our board packet. And so it's there for people, but again, to the facilities committee, to this board, I want to thank you for the steps that you took in establishing the questions. As far as other action items, I think we already talked about the property tax levy. And then really, the rest of the items are pretty procedural. When you look at the approval of the lease agreement, that is for the equipment for the election, and so we do that when we hold these elections. We just saw a little uptick in needing from a .2 to a .3 of a teacher to help with mentoring instructional coach, and so that we could fulfill those needs. So there's a .1 of a teacher increased. And you might ask, how does a .1 work? We have a part-time teacher, and it allows them a few more hours a week is what it really provides us. We saw a reduction in some of the federal dollars that we had, so there was a reduction of a health specialist, Our Lady, and so we utilized as much as we could, as long as we could, but now those dollars are coming back. And then we talked about the preliminary tax levy. And so those are the action items before you today.
Thanks, Kevin. Chair moves for approval of the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to discussion items. The chair moves for approval of action item 8A, approval of lease agreement between Westonka School District and the City of Minnetrista for equipment for the school district election. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Chair moves for approval of action item 8B, approval of increasing the Grandview Middle School and Mount Westonka High School instructional coach mentor coordination position to a .3 FTE. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair moves for approval of action item 8C, approval of reducing the health specialist position at Our Lady of the Lake School to 2.75 hours per day for the 23-24 school year. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair moves for approval of action item 8D, approval of the certification of the 2023 payable 2024 preliminary property tax levy. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Anybody else have anything else here? Heidi, Kelly, thanks for stepping up and helping out at homecoming for, with the serving of the hot dogs and that. I appreciate it. Kevin, you're gonna be there too, so thank you. I'd be there, but I got a wedding thing that night, so I will not be there, but thank you very much. And with that being said, I move for adjournment. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?